Welcome. I'm Anna Roja, and today we're diving into the world of historical interior styles, specifically Baroque, Rococo, and Chinoiserie. These styles have shaped centuries of design, and they still influence interiors today in both subtle and bold ways. Let's explore how and why. Here's our lesson plan. First, we'll talk about why we even study historical styles today. Then, we'll break down the main features of Baroque, Rococo, and Chinoiserie. After that, we'll look at how these elements are used in modern interiors. And finally, I will share some great movie recommendations that show these styles in action. Let's start with the question. Why study historical styles at all? Well, the way we live has definitely changed. Our spaces are smaller, ceilings are lower, and technology plays a big role in our interiors. Materials and layouts have evolved, but that doesn't mean that history is gone. Even with all these modern changes, historical styles haven't disappeared. They've just adapted. Designers still draw from the past to create depth, richness, and storytelling in interiors today. You will often see elements from styles like Baroque, Rococo, and Chinoiserie being added to modern spaces, sometimes as accents, sometimes as the main theme. And let's start with Baroque. Baroque is one of the most majestic and dramatic styles in both architecture and interior design. It's all about grandeur and theatrical beauty. The purpose of Baroque design was to make a bold statement to show power, wealth, and status. Everything was created to impress. Baroque interiors are known for their scale and movement, massive forms, spatial depth, lots of curves, and dynamic compositions that feel alive. Curved lines and sweeping forms and the complex lighting effects are essential to the Baroque mood. Everything flows and moves with rhythm. The color palette is rich and intense. White and gold, deep reds, greens, and purples. These are all played together in a very strong way. They make light and shadows that adds drama. So, here we see the classic Baroque pairing, white and gold, and it's clean but still extremely luxurious. Red was another popular Baroque color, powerful, emotional, and rich, often used in textiles or on walls. Purple tones were associated with nobility and elegance. They added depth and drama to interiors. Greens were often used in combination with gold, adding freshness and contrast. Baroque interiors are filled with pompous decor, lavish moldings, frescoes, also sculptures, columns in rich fabrics. It's theatrical, almost like a stage. Here we see how Baroque look in different palaces, from Russia to Spain, always rich, detailed, and extravagant. Now let's move into the Rococo period, also called late Baroque. Rococo is still ornate and luxurious, but it's lighter, more elegant, and a bit more playful. The word Rococo is actually comes from the French word for rock and shell, and that's exactly what inspired many of the decorative shapes in this style. In Baroque, if Baroque is the style of kings, Rococo is the style of mistresses. It's softer, more intimate, more about pleasure than power. Think boudoirs, salons in private rooms. Rococo in art and design often created a fantasy world full of playful details, mythological scenes, and delicate ornamentation. It was about escaping reality. The color palette shifted too. Rococo uses light pastel tones like ivory pink, pale blue, cream, and soft yellow, often mixed with gold. Here's a perfect example of that pastel gold combination. Elegant, feminine, and full of light. Mirrors and ornate golden frames, fine type stripes, porcelain figurines, Chinese lacquer boxes, all of these things were common in Rococo interiors. Let's take a moment to really observe this room. It's a textbook example of Rococo style at its finest. We see soft pastel walls enriched with delicate gilded moldings. The mirrors with their curved and ornamental frames amplify the light and make the space feel airy and elegant. The crystal chandelier adds sparkle and opulence, but it's not heavy, it's graceful. Look at the furniture. It's finely carved, painted, and upholstered in rich damask. And that folding screen in the back, can you see it? It's a perfect Rococo detail, decorative, artistic, and full of storytelling. Even the fireplace is richly framed, and porcelain accents complete the scene. Textures and materials also changed. Satin, also silk, and decorative floral elements became very popular. The whole look is soft and romantic. Furniture in Rococo interiors was richly decorated with carving, gilding, and painted details. It was light and firm compared to Baroque, more curved and delicate. Now we move to Chinoiserie, a fascinating style that emerged as part of the Rococo period. Chinoiserie is actually a European interpretation of Chinese aesthetics. The word comes from the French chinois, meaning Chinese. Chinoiserie is known for its extensive use of motifs and techniques from medieval Chinese painting and its interest in porcelain. It was especially popular in decorative private spaces like boudoirs, offices, and living rooms, adding a sense of exoticism and refinement. This room is a beautiful representation of chinoiserie, that European fantasy of the East that became especially popular in the 18th century. Let's look at the wall panels. They're likely hand-painted silk or paper featuring birds, trees, and rocks in a dreamlike, almost poetic landscape. So, chinoiserie was all about elegance and luxury. It used expensive materials and refined techniques. This is chinoiserie taken to the next level. Highly decorative, playful, and theatrical. The contrast between the bright walls and the crisp white plasterwork, the vivid yellow upholstery creates an incredibly dynamic interior. Every corner is filled with visual interest. Look closely. The furniture is designed in Fox Chinese style, using bamboo-like forms and intricate woodwork. The white stucco arches are full of flowers, leaves, and even figurines dressed in stylized oriental robes. It's all part of this imagined, romanticized version of China that fascinated European aristocracy in 18th century. In this style, walls were often covered with paper or silk wallpaper. Porcelain played a key role, especially Chinese vases in tea sets, often with the iconic blue and white color scheme. Another classic element of chinoiserie is the folding screen. both practical and decorative. These screens were often hand-painted with delicate scenes of nature, birds of daily life, and served not just for dividing space, but also to add an artistic statement. As you can see, these elements create a dreamlike exotic mood, refined but full of storytelling. Now let's move into the modern world and let's look how elements of historical styles are used in contemporary interiors. One of the most common ways is through moldings and stucco, especially in classical or French-inspired spaces. This is a great example of modern interior that carries subtle historical echoes, particularly from Classicism and light Neoclassicism. The wall moldings are simple but elegant, hinting at traditional architectural detailing without feeling heavy or old-fashioned. The palette is soft and muted, pale greens, creams, and warm grays, creating a calm and timeless atmosphere. Here we see how everything comes together. It's a perfect example of floor and cohesion in contemporary classic interior. The sideline leads us from the dining space through a cozy wooden nook and into the soft neutral kitchen. Each zone has its own function, but they all speak the same visual language. Muted tones, elegant moldings, refined textures, and just a touch of luxury. Baroque and Rococo moldings are ornate and graceful. When added to modern interiors, they give depth and a touch of drama. These two spaces show a beautifully restrained take of modern classic interiors, clean, calming, but still full of historical echoes. On the left, the living area is framed by wooden glass doors that reference traditional partitions, while the wall moldings and ceiling modulation add just enough classic detailing to give structure and rhythm to the space. Nothing is overly decorative. It's all about quiet elegance. On the right, the bedroom uses soft curves, layered textures, and a muted palette to create a restful retreat. The vertical rhythm of the wall paneling, the sculpture pendant light, and the antique style freestanding mirror all add subtle notes to historical design, but everything feels fresh and contemporary at the same time. Rococo is actually a great base for creating soft, elegant, and romantic French-style interiors. This interior beautifully blends French classic architecture with playful modern design. On the left, we see traditional elements, the marble fireplace, ceiling moldings, and symmetrical double doors, but they're balanced by unexpected details. A sculpture coffee table, a circular mirror in a golden frame, and minimalist modern chairs. It's refined but not rigid. On the right, the reading nook feels cozy and lettered. The built-in shelves are styled like a modern cabinet of curiosities. Filled with books, ceramics, and small art pieces. The mix of soft upholstery, light curtains, and contemporary shapes creates a space that's both elegant and approachable. The Rococo is a great base for a French interior style. Here is a perfect example how Rococo can serve as a beautiful foundation for French interior. Look at the soft curved lines and the ceiling molding look beautiful. The elegant chandelier and the refined furniture, everything feels light, romantic, and full of charm. It is no heaviness, just soft, soft tones, natural light, and sense of effortless sophistication. This is a brilliant case of classical architecture meeting modern minimalism. The walls, fireplace, and ceiling are full of classical detail, ornamental cornices, elegant wall panels, and curved marble fireplace that looks straight out of Parisian apartment. But everything else? It's sharp, clean, and contemporary. Now let's see how chinoiserie works in a modern setting. Many modern chinoiserie wallpapers and fabrics are still hand-painted, preserving the artisanal feel of the original style. These two spaces show just how varied and expressive modern chinoiserie can be. On the left, we have a bold, almost psychedelic take. Graphic dragons in vivid colors, strong lines, and high contrast. It's playful, unexpected, and definitely makes a statement. This isn't traditional chinoiserie. It's more like remix with a modern pop art edge. On the right, the approach is much more serene and poetic. Hand-painted branches, a full moon, and delicate shadows create a sense of calm and mystery. The gold background gives it luxurious, almost dreamlike quality. They're totally different modes, but both rooted in the same tradition, using storytelling, nature, and the surface as a canvas. That's the magic of chinoiserie. It can be both theatrical and meditative, depending on how you use it. So, this is chinoiserie at its most luxurious and expressive. The hand-painted wallpaper is the true centerpiece. Rich black background, intricate floral branches, birds, and soft gold highlights. It instantly sets a mood of drama and elegance. This kind of wall treatment transforms the room into work of art. Vintage screens or modern reproductions continue to appear in eclectic and artistic homes. They are timeless and very collectible. Sometimes the Chinese theme is subtle, like a lamp that mimics the shape of traditional lantern or maybe also porcelain vase with Eastern patterns. These small touches can bring elegance, texture, and cultural richness into a modern space without feeling outdated. This is chinoiserie torn up to full volume, bold, colorful, and fearless. The hand-painted panoramic wallpaper in the classic blue and white tones creates a dramatic backdrop filled with exotic architecture and a lush foliage, and it feels like stepping into a fantasy landscape inspired by 18th century chinoiserie panels, but with a contemporary twist. Here we see a darker, more mysterious side of chinoiserie, and it's absolutely captivating. On the left, the traditional Chinese cabinet becomes a statement piece, and its gold landscape illustration shines against the black background, surrounded by rich green ceramics and vivid red floral accents. The symmetry and layer give it a formal, almost sacred presence, like a shrine to beauty and tradition. On the right, we enter a moody hallway wrapped in metallic wallpaper with stylized cranes and oversized florals. The lighting, the black trim, the marble floor, everything here plays with contrast, grit, and reflection. It feels like a film set, sensual, dramatic, and deeply curated. This is one of the boldest and most exciting combination of style, where ornate Rococo architecture meets sleek, space-age furniture and eclectic details. Look at the backdrop. We see classic wall panels, gilded mirrors, and decorative fireplaces that clearly reference Rococo. But in front of that, there is style tulip chairs, contemporary rugs, animal hides, and rattan lounge chair that feels more mid-century or even tropical. And yet it works, right? Why? Because the historical elements are treated like theatrical backdrop. They create atmosphere and depth, while the modern pieces keep it playful and grounded in nowadays. So, and now if you want more inspiration, let's talk movies. Barry Lyndon by Stanley Kubrick is a visual masterpiece. The interiors show off Rococo and early neoclassical styles, with soft colors, tape stripes, and aesthetic of 18th century furniture. The Favorite is another fantastic example. It mixes Baroque and Rococo in a dramatic, theatrical way, full of gilded details and bold contrasts. Sofia Coppola's Marie Antoinette is a perfect example of Rococo and its most playful feminine way. Pastels, floral, silk, and fantasy. It's all there. The madness of King George reflects a more restrained Georgian aesthetics. Still historical, but a bit more symmetrical and controlled than Rococo. Now let's wrap up with a few key takeaways. Historical styles, Baroque, Rococo, and Chinoiserie still have a place in modern design. They add richness, storytelling, and a human touch. You don't need to recreate a palace. Even a single object, like a mirror or lamp, vase, can bring in that historical feeling. Baroque brings drama and grandeur, Rococo adds romance and elegance, and Chinoiserie brings mystery and artistic detail. Mix with care. These styles are bold. Balance is key when combining them with modern minimalism or other aesthetics. Thank you for exploring these beautiful historical styles with me. I hope you feel inspired to look at these past with fresh eyes.